Hello, everyone watching in post, and sorry for the confusion. Going to put it up on my Instagram. Welcome. Hello, Moo. Happy holidays, Fred. Thanks for coming on, guys. Just making a quick post on my Instagram because I had some confusion on my end. It's not the easiest system, this live stream stuff. I'm still trying to get around it. Hey guys, had some issues with my technology, but live stream link is here and we are live now. Hey James, hope everything is well, and thanks Fred for the moose droppings. Always appreciated and helps more people find the chat. Welcome everyone. I hope everyone's had a good holidays. December 30 live chats. Live chats. All right. I think we're off and running. I think. All right. Hello, everyone. However, you asked why I'm not in the sport for a long time. Well, it's not the best thing to do for your body, for one. For two, I think to accomplish what I want to accomplish, I don't need to be around for a long time. And that's really it. I'll start having other goals to focus on at that stage. I'll have a family, and that's is what it is. But I don't think it's something that I'll find interesting forever, and that's really what it comes down to. No sense in doing something you don't enjoy. So I'm having a blast at the moment, and maybe in 3 years' time, I'm still having a blast, and I can't let go of it or whatnot. And that's that. Maybe if I'm still at the top level, but that's just my expectation for my career. And Laws and I have spoken about that as well. And with my goals, he sort of believes the same. 3 years from now, probably give it up. I'll have won everything I want to win by then. And if I haven't, I might not. So that's what that's where I'm at. James, watched some World's Strongest Man with my family over the holidays. Tried to explain how crazy your first year has been and why you're a big deal. How big of a deal are you really if it requires a lot of explanation? It's been pretty wild. Looking back at Worlds, and I got a VPN so I could watch as well. And I was at that stage compared to now, I was horrible. I'm nowhere near in peaked for something like that. But if I competed against myself now, and the other version of myself was who competed at World's Strongest Man, it'd be miles apart, which is pretty exciting considering I managed 8th. So next year should be pretty exciting. Harvey asked, do you believe you have the potential to win World's Strongest Man 5 times? No, I don't think it's not one of my goals, really. I suppose the question better asked is, or thought of, I suppose, is there going to be 5 years in which you're in contention to win? Could be. I mean, if things lined up this year, I could have won. Say it was all the events I was experiencing good at. This coming year, I'm in the conversation. To have that come through 5 times would be pretty unbelievable. But like I said before, I'm just not sure I'm going to be around long enough to win 5 times. It's not part of my goals. I think if I had a ballistic year and say 1 year I won the Arnold and I won Worlds and I won Rogue, I won Shaw, if that happened, that might be it. What else would I want to do? I don't think I love multiple time winning as much as I would love winning 1 time. And Moo668, yes, VPN's the trick. Get a VPN. then you can get the Channel 5 app. You get the VPN on a smart TV, Channel 5 app on the TV. Then you're watching World's Strongest Man. And I will say it's actually fantastic. It's really entertaining. And I highly recommend anyone in North America to do that, because in full honesty, I thought the North American production of World's Strongest Man was horrendous, and I'm not sure I would watch next year. So that's too bad. James asked, do you plan on getting much bigger? Do you think you've got enough size to push the static stuff already? Deadlift is up there like it needs to be. I had a great deadlift session today. Was doing 366 raw. I did a set of 3 reps. I was going to do 4, but my strap ripped. I feel really strong. I don't think I need to be over 320, 330 to be up there with the best in the world statically. And in moving events, I'll still be able to, I'll be able to be at the top level at that weight. I mean, 190 log for a double. And it wasn't a perfect press either, in terms of the balance and whatnot. That's up there with a lot of guys. So, 190 for 4 or 5 might be best in the world. And I don't feel like I'm too far off that. Andrew, thank you very much for being a member for 1 month. Everyone on the stream right now, being a member is a great way to support me. Just click the join button, $5 a month. You get that little tag, and support the content that goes out on the channel. Respond to your comment first, all that type of good stuff. So if you can, that would be phenomenal. So thanks again, Andrew. Brew tank outdoors. He wins a comp and immediately grab the dude's beer and chugs it. You got to put that at the end of every bit. That started in the UK at the Arnold's over there, and that guy wanted to buy me a beer before I went to do the stone run, and obviously that's a bad idea. So I told him if I won and he brought it, that I would drink it. Then it happened there, and then it happened in Glasgow after I won. Ashley brought me a beer. Then at Rogue, another guy bought me a beer, which is funny. I'm drinking a lot of beer around Strongman, but I really don't traditionally drink a whole lot at all. But night before comp, I enjoy it, and why not have one to celebrate? In the UK, we get Colin commentating like he wasn't there. Yeah, that's really funny. He does well though. Colin's good on the mic. Harvey says, do the interviews straight after events at WSM annoy the athletes? Like the guys can barely breathe as it is without a mic in their face. It's worse at Giants, because at Worlds they'll do every pair of guys go, and then after all the guys go, they interview. So you could be in the first group, win, have a bit of a rest. Where Giants, it's always straight away. It sort of depends on the guy. For me, I know the benefit and I know the purpose, so that's really important. And to me, reaching out to people like all of you, that's close to the top of my priority list, more so than winning comps and whatnot. So I'm really happy to do it, but I know the guys strictly focused on winning are they would rather focus on the competition. Yeah, but it really depends. Jens, how is the stone throwing going? It's going well. It's going very well. I think I have my strategy worked out. The world record is 4 meters, and I can promise you that I will smoke that. The issue is, I'm pretty sure everyone's going to smoke that. So, yeah. But winning distance, I'm going to guess 5 meters, maybe a little over 5 meters. But tall guys will do really well. And, that's that. Hopefully I can do it. If I had to guess, Tom will do very well at that event. And then I assume the athleticism and explosiveness of myself and Mateo should probably be quite good at that one as well. Outside us three, I can't really see anyone smashing it unless Pavlo figures it out perfectly, but he hasn't really proven that he's going to do that. So maybe, but yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Landon saying, loving the live seminars for deadlift and log. Do you have any tips for training with a log if I don't have a log to train with? get good at overhead pressing, really. There's a few details around where the center of the mass of the log lies that you can't train without one. But if you're a good overhead presser, you'll be a good log presser once you learn how to clean it. Really not that hard. But thank you for that. Yeah, I'm working hard on getting as much out there for everyone. And the more people who become members, the more stuff I'll be able to put out. There's some extra stuff behind the paywall as well in terms of webinars and education and all that. So if you can, please jump on, become a member. And at a minimum, let's go ahead and subscribe and like the video. Let's get some more people on here. I think I'm going to be on for maybe half an hour, maybe 20 minutes more. Hey, Bronshot, I hope you're doing well. Hope the holidays were good for you. And thank you very much for having that little tag and being a member. Alex says, what do you think is keeping Maxime Boudreau from having a world-class deadlift? What a great question. Yeah, I've thought about that a lot. And it's an interesting one because when someone's so strong in so many ways, like his log press is great, his arm over arm is great, back strength's not the issue. His squatting's even okay. His stone is really good, but he just can't deadlift. At a certain stage, I think arm length comes into play. I'd like to think that if I worked with him for a little bit, I'd be able to help him out, but I know he's got smart people working with him. And in the end, sometimes it just comes down to things that you can't control, i.e. where your muscles attach in your body. If you have a muscle that's, say, 3 centimeters, the tendon is 3 centimeters away from the bone, and another that's 4 centimeters away from the bone, the one that's 3 centimeters away will have to produce 25% more force than the one that's 4 centimeters away to get the same force at the joint. We don't control that stuff. We're just lucky with it. And wherever our spinal erectors happen to come in, our glutes happen to come in, hamstrings and all that, that's all sort of out of our control. And when you see someone like that where it's so disproportionate and you know he's working really hard on it, that's where my mind tends to go. So potentially it's something along those lines. How do you think you do at the crazy heavy 1500 bale toe yoke they used to do at the Arnold's? Well, Alex, no, James. Well, James, I think I might have a chance, and that's to be confirmed, to be announced, but it's certainly something that I'm chasing. I've picked, when I was back in my powerlifting days, I hadn't done much strongman yet. I did a max yoke pick with a friend of mine, and I was about 117 kilos at this stage, and I picked 1650. I think I'm much stronger now than I was then. I don't think I'd have any issue picking it. I think I'd be able to scoot it along. I'd be very surprised if I wasn't able to break the world record, which for 4 meters, I believe, is 14 seconds or so. I know someone on here will know. But I think, I don't know if I can say, if they can get the kit to the Arnold's, I'll do it. And I believe that's in the works at the moment. Jens, what are the biggest changes Laws has implemented for you? I don't know. The programming is not so different from what I would do myself. There's a bit more accountability there. A bit more specific work on the deadlift for sure. That's been working really well. I am so sick of using a stiff bar, but it's going to pay big dividends when we get to the elephant bar. It's going to feel like I'm pulling an 18-inch deadlift. And I hate the snatch grips, but we're doing them. But the biggest thing that Lars has given me is advice for events on the day. They're all events he's done before and all strategy that it's much easier to help with strategy when you're not the one in the competition. So it's a really symbiotic team, and really getting the small things right is much more important. A good coach can give you a program and can give you exercises, but a great coach gives you a hell of a lot more than that in terms of feedback on your exercises, monitoring load, intensity, volume, helping plan the year for me. All that type of stuff is really, really important. Where to put focus and energy, all of that. So that's where he's added a lot as a coach, and programming is definitely good. It's great, but it's a distant seconds to all of the other things that he's added. Who wins in a fight, in your opinion, Alexi or Wide Pavlo? Is Alexi facing Pavlo in this hypothetical circumstance? I think Wide Pavlo would beat anyone. And that's that. It'd be like if you had a gun and you shot Pavlo, it'd get like halfway through his pec. And then he'd get angry like the Hulk. So I wouldn't want any piece of that. AC, what's your strategy for training farmers? Well, the strategy for training farmers is train farmers. But to get a good grip, for me, I really, really, really try to take care of my calluses, sometimes successfully, sometimes unsuccessfully. And the way I grip farmers and I grip frames is very particular and puts a lot of stress on my calluses. So I'm actually going to talk to Laws about changing it up, and I might do my farmers training with straps for right now and do things like behind the back holds with barbells to improve my grip. Because when I grab a bar or a frame, I don't like to grab it like that. How do I show you? I don't like to grab it like that, where it's sitting in my fingers. So if it sits here, it's just going to peel your fingers open. For me, I'll cock my hand, I'll sit it in there, and I'll get as much of this fat, as much as this skin, whatever it is, I'll jam it up in there, and I'll get it to sit on there. And so that's holding some of the weight as well on top of my hand. So then for my hand to open, it needs to slip over my calluses into my fingers and then out of my hand. So that's been tearing calluses, but yeah, I mean, get strong hands and train hard. For me personally, there's a relationship between size of the muscle and type of muscle fiber. The smaller the muscle is, the more slow twitch muscle fibers you have, because your hands need to hold pencils all day. They need to pick up objects. They need to, whatever it is. We use our hands all day. And so you can't train them to like a maximum often. Okay. If you're looking to improve your farmers long-term, you're going to want to do longer duration, high frequency things like farmers holds, plate pinches, behind the back, barbell holds, all that type of stuff. Because training the stimulus of like maximal load always it's communicating with the muscle too far off. So you can go maximal loads for deadlifts and squats and all that. When it comes to your hands, they're not going to respond as well to a super, super heavy load often. Curvin says, bursting on the scene and suddenly being in the conversation for the podium in every single comp. Were you surprised with your instant success? Yes. So if I compare my events to everyone else's along the way, I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised with what I've done. But just the general concept of like, you are at this level and this is what you're doing, that is mental. Yeah, I never would have thought that this was the outcome from the year. Like 3 there, 1 there, and 2 up there. That's that stuff. Like, no, never could have dreamed that. So pretty lucky. But the biggest lesson that I think a lot of people could take away from it is that I could have at many stages talked myself out of it mentally and said, well, maybe I can't do this because I see other guys can't do this, and no one's had a first year like this before. And my general nature is that I really don't care what people have done before. I more care about what I'm able to do, which that Instagram video that I have pinned that Giants Live did, the thumbnail is just my sort of head shadow. That is the best video and really captures my approach and who I am in day-to-day life. Karu, what's happening, buddy? I hope you make it out to Deadlift World Champs sometime. I'd love to see you pull a big number. Mike guys, what's the fastest 2 mile you ever ran? Mine was 12:04. I don't know how far 2 miles is. Let me find that out. Actually, I did 3.2 kilometers. I never ran a 3.2 kilometer for time. My best 5K was 17:30. So what's that? 5 kilometers, 17:30, 17 times 60, 1,020 seconds plus 30, 1,050 seconds divided by 5 kilometers, 210 seconds divided by 60. So 3.5 minute Ks for 5 kilometers. No, sorry. I went sub 15 for 5 kilometers. Yeah, under 3 minute kilometers for 5Ks. I remember that one distinctly because I was very nauseous after it. So I could run about 3 minute kilometers when I was at my fittest. So if we go 3.2 kilometers times 3 minutes per kilometer, I'd probably be somewhere around the 9:45 mark. Alex Kelly says, do you think Brian Shaw made his stone off extra sweaty against Bobby Thompson as a strategic maneuver? No, absolutely not. No one thinks that. Bobby doesn't think that. Bobby immediately after he tried to pick up the stone, when he said that to Brian, he was just confused. He was just confused on what happened, because a 150 stone should be nothing for any of us. And he had just chosen the wrong tacky, wrong conditions. I've never felt what he felt, but I know that he couldn't grab the stone at all. So really bad luck there, but nobody thinks that Brian did anything wrong, and Brian didn't do anything wrong. And there's nothing you could do I mean, if you made the stone super slippery, it would be super slippery for you first, which was obviously not the case for Brian. So what? I don't know how that would work. Jens asked if I've considered adding a nutritionist. I have, yes. It's something that I find that I have in order for the most part. But certainly that would be high on my list of people I would add, and people I've considered adding over time. I've done a bit of work with a couple of people, but yeah, definitely on the cards for something to take myself to the next level. asks, what has your experience been with promoters? Have they asked you to do anything unreasonable that you've had to say no to? No, quite the contrary. I've probably asked them unreasonable things, and so they don't ask me unreasonable things. But no, they've all been good. The promoters I've dealt with have been Colin and Darren from Giants Live, Ant Brown at Arnold UK, and the people from Rogue. No complaints about any of them, really. Rogue's a bit too stiff, like not letting family into the venue beforehand and stuff like that. I wasn't a big fan of that. Really rubbed me the wrong way. Otherwise, Giants Live is first class. World's Strongest Man's first class. Rogue's first class as well. They're just much more strict, and I suppose with the CrossFit around, maybe they have to be secret events and whatnot. So, a better question, Kervin says, is who would win in a fight, wide Pavlo or 3-ground gorillas? The gorillas. People do not understand how freaking strong gorillas are. It would be unbelievable. They'd get torn apart by one gorilla. Dom, do strongman get girls? Some do. Rob Kearney gets guys. Teague says, which program years do you recommend for someone who has weight lifted for a long time but is just starting to get into strongman? Well, since you've done a lot of power training, you haven't done a lot of volume, I'd probably take you into the off-season strongman block. When you go to something new, as you would know in weightlifting, doing higher volume strongman events and higher volume training is going to help you groove those movement patterns. It's also going to condition your muscles to a very, very different stimulus than you're used to, but at a lower intensity. So I'd recommend the off-season strongman program. And for everyone watching, those programs gets you sorted 12 weeks with education. Go check them out. So definitely worthwhile. And I think it's the best bang for buck I've ever put out there. And I 100% stand behind all of those. So and obviously I wrote them all myself. Go give them a check out on my website. You can find the link in my Instagram bio. Yannick asks if I can speak French like the other Canadians. Are you actually Australian? Do you know what? This is actually hilarious. I think Canadian, like strongman is huge in Quebec, the French part of Canada. And they give a really funny representation to everyone who doesn't know strongman, who doesn't know Canadians outside of strongman. 90% of Canadians can't speak a word of French, but for some reason, every single Frenchman, like every single strongman, has been the most French person I've ever met in my life. I don't think there's a more French person in all of Canada than Gabriel Rayum. I don't think he speaks a whole lot of English. I don't understand how you get by. I suppose in Quebec it doesn't really matter, but that blows my mind. Can I speak French? Very, very little, un petit peu, but not well. And I wouldn't back myself to have any sort of conversation. Harvey asks, if WSM 22 was a bodybuilding show, who would win? If it was 22, then it's certainly not. It's certainly not Pavlo, because he wasn't there. Who would it be? Who should? Kevin Ferris. Kevin Ferris got small joints. He like walk around like a bodybuilder. Yeah, Kevin Ferris, I reckon. Dom asked if I'm going to Colorado to train with Brian. I was on the phone yesterday with Brian. I really can't wait for that. It's just a schedule thing. So potentially towards the end of March, in the lead up to World's Strongest Man. Landon, you love the Arnold UK trophy, huh? Yeah, it's pretty mental. It's literally 55 pounds. Like it's so unnecessarily heavy. The the biggest complaint with promoters is that they don't consider how we have to get those over to the UK, or sorry, over to our home country. I think I was the only one in the UK from North America, and made it a big pain in the ass. So they had to ship that over. But it is pretty cool. The sword comes out for transport and whatnot. But yeah, our biggest concern for a little bit was that this is the dog's room. You can see Murphy hanging out. But our biggest concern was, what if the shelf breaks? And what a bad outcome it would be for your dog to die with Conan's sword going straight into it. Will you make a video about your diet someday, and how many hours do you sleep on average? Parent, will I make a video on my diet? Probably not. No, it's boring. I might make a video on, actually, I am making a video potentially next Friday, going vegan for a day with one of my really good friends who's a vegan herself. I'll do eating challenges. That's interesting. Nothing hot, because that's stupid, but volume, sure. But my eating, I don't know. To me, it's a bit intimate. So yeah, I don't know why. For me, it's just a funny thing. Maybe one day. I don't know. Fabian keeps asking me to do it. I don't really want to do it. Bear asks, the way you speak and explain things is very technical. What's your background in terms of coaching, etc.? I did my undergraduate degree in human kinetics at a place near Toronto called the University of Guelph. After that, I got my strength and conditioning certification through the National Strength and Conditioning Association. So I'm a certified strength and conditioning specialist. Then I went to Australia at the University of Sydney. I did my master's in exercise physiology. And I communicate with clients every day who have little understanding of exercise. So it's forced me to be as articulate as possible. I also really have, I've made a point to listen back to all my videos on my podcasts, listen to how I communicate. It's one of the most valuable things you can do. When I think of someone who, and most people are this way, they never want to listen to themselves speak. I understand that, because it's very hard to do, but that is who you're communicating yourself to the world, or how you're communicating yourself to the world, I should say. So it's one of the most important things that you should do, because if you think you sound like an idiot, there's a chance that you sound like an idiot, and you should try not to sound like an idiot. So for example, things like cadence, filling dead space, speaking too quickly, finishing sentences with upward inflection, all of that I've worked really, really hard to stop doing. Mike says 10.65 miles per hour was your 5K pace. Yeah, I was pretty fast. Definitely nowhere near a world class, definitely nowhere near a national class, but I would beat anyone who didn't run collegiately, who didn't run professionally, for the most part. But I wasn't that good, to be fair. Mike, welcome to the Moose Crew. Thank you very much. Same thing with AC. Thank you very much, guys. I appreciate it. Those are the people with those little symbols. If you can afford to become a member, I really, really appreciate it. It's the best way to help me put out more content, particularly the educational stuff. $5 a month. Yeah, and it really helps. So thank you very much to Mike and AC. Welcome to the Moose Crew. Tom says, not a question, but thoroughly enjoyed your progress this year. Finally being able to see how it started in the heats, and Channel 5 was incredible. The Channel 5 content is awesome. Like I said, for those in North America, Australia, get a VPN, get the Channel 5 app, and watch that. It's awesome. It's really, really good. Aaron says, do you have any tips on training deadlift for reps? No stop and go, 1 minute, 11 weeks out. Currently can hit about 7 reps at the weight. Well, best tip really is improve endurance at that stage. If you can do 7 reps, we're talking about muscular endurance much more than peak strength. So I would say throw in some sets of 20 with 80% the load of comp weight. Do it with short rest times and get your body conditioned to doing a lot of reps. Pretty simple advice, but usually that gets the job done. Bronchopt says, Maxime looks like a guy that can throw a stone far as fuck. Wouldn't be surprised if he's in the top 3 for stone throw. Yeah, maybe. I don't know. Max is really he's a hard one to predict. He could be all over the shop with a lot of things, but he could disrupt that top 3. But I don't know. He's a bit short. His arms are a bit short. Like he's a bit more of a stockier guy. I don't know. I really don't know. I'd love to put my technique out there and let you guys know and see what you think, but you will find out on the day of the Arnold. But I think, like I said, I think I'll be well over the world record, and a couple of other guys will be too. There's a couple of challenges that are more related to athleticism than they are related to anything strength-wise. It's certainly not a static strength event. We're running 10 meters up to it. The traditional technique is up here, and if you run, and you just sort of launch it, it's basically just who's taller and who even you'd have to be moving very fast to beat someone much taller than you. So you got to find some sort of combination to be able to get some power into the stone as well. But yeah, I'm interested to watch some of the guys in the event for sure. Brown Shops lived in Canada for 20 years, have maybe heard French twice. Yes, that is the traditional Canadian experience. Haas, have you met JF Caron? I have not met JF. I've spoke to him on the phone a few times. He lives maybe a 10-hour drive away from me. And yeah, I'd love to get up there and shoot some content with him sometime, but I'm crunched for time. And if I'm being fully candid, there's 2 reasons I haven't met him. One is because strongman shows in Canada don't pay well enough for me to risk my body for them compared to the other international shows. And 2, JF, in terms of making content with him, I find him hard to listen to because his English, his accent is so strong. So I don't think it'd be as digestible for you guys as if I went and shot content with, say, Rob Kearney or Martins or Stolmans, something like that. But I'd love to someday. It's just sort of hierarchy. It's not the desire, it's the time that's the limiting factor. Mike asked the best question. Do Canadians use metric or standard metric or standard measurements? Brownchop says both. And Brownchop says pounds though. Yeah, so we use this is the craziest thing for people who have not lived in Canada. We really mishmash everything. So when we're going through school, everything in school is centimeters, meters, kilograms, grams. But when we talk body weight or lifting, we talk in pounds. If we talk something really heavy, say you're working in industrial or you're I don't know, you're talking about something huge, often you're going to talk about it in kilograms. If we talk about temperature and it's the air, it's Celsius. If it's the water, it's Fahrenheit. And if it's your oven, it's also Fahrenheit. But obviously water boiling, we talk about in Celsius, 100 degrees Celsius. Yeah, it's a hilarious mismatch, and I'm not joking at all. We're like, it really depends. there's a really good chart online that sort of pokes fun at it, but we are all over the shop. But I am very firm in the camp of it is better to use kilograms for lifting. It's so much more intuitive, makes way more sense. Okay. Cheers from Montreal, meat-based vegan. I have no idea what that name's supposed to mean, but cheers. The French part. James, welcome to the Moose Crew. Thank you very much for joining up. Those of you in on the live stream, that's the best way to support the channel. There's a bit of content behind that paywall in addition to the educational stuff. But in the end, that is just a vote that you like what's going on here. And the more members, the more content I can put out. So thank you very much to James. I appreciate you. Snowball says Pavlo was at Worlds in 2022. I must be blind because I didn't see him. Curvin, 2023 is going to be absolutely awesome. Kilishkowski back in the scene. Tom Novikov. Train yourself battling it out. Fingers crossed, half though it comes back, then you've really got your work cut out. Yeah, it'll be interesting. It'll be a lot of fun. I think Worlds this year, Tom, Trey, myself, and Alexi battle it out. Best man wins. Going to be a lot of fun. Yeah. Mike says, Loki, I want Max to destroy Arnold Strongman Classic. Me too. I'd love that. Frame is great for him. Stone throw, who knows? What else do we have? That log. He could do well on the log. The issue, though, is in a five event comp, you can't be bad at something and claw your way back to win. The winner is going to be top 3 or 4 on every single event. And if you're not, so you come 8th in something, trying to make up 8 points over 5 events from someone who's consistent, it would almost have to be someone like Kilishkowski. He comes 8th in the deadlift and then he wins every other event. That's the only real way he could do it. And with Max, he could win the frame. I don't think he could win the log. What else do we got? I don't have him picked to win the stone throw, so I'm not sure that he could do that. But I would love to see Max do well. I think having 2 Canadians on the podium at Worlds next year is not out of the question. I said there's 4 guys, but in the world, there's 10, 15 guys who could really contend for top spots, which is pretty exciting times and pretty fun for me to watch the sport grow. Heidi asks, can you say happy birthday for my little brother? He's been watching you for 8 years. Heidi, you're lying. There's no way. There's no way your brother's been watching me since I was 19 years old. But happy birthday to Heidi's little brother. Snowball asks if you see a mustache. It's starting. Yeah, it's starting. Brontop says, make a trip to the toffee shed. Maybe. I'd love to train with Tej. I think he's probably the only person. I have no pictures with anyone in Strongman, but I'll probably get a picture with him. King T says, I can barely understand the Stoltmans compared to JF. Really? Wow. Clint, Happy New Year. Hope you're doing well. Haven't seen you around the gym in ages, so hopefully all is okay. Aaron asks if there's anyone particular that's influenced my life philosophy. You seem very grounded. No, there's not any individual in particular, but a lot of people along the way who have influenced in different ways. I've said this many times before, that I think it's a bad idea to have any individual as a role model, because when you get to know anyone well enough, they are quite fallible, and really everyone is much the same. And more often than not, if someone achieves a huge level of success in one thing, it's because they've really let something else in their life slide. Bronze Hops, you're right. The Toffee King, Mateusz. Yeah, Mateusz is definitely there at Worlds. So there's 5 guys. But yeah. Well, you don't know all the events. I can't tell you all the events. But there's some very good ones for him in there, for sure. I'm thinking, because we know the finals events, we know the heats events. I'm trying to think the finals events. Obviously, I'm not giving anything away by saying there's a deadlift there, so obviously he'll suffer in that a bit. But dumbbell is good. Yeah, definitely in the mix. Definitely in the mix. Will you ever arm wrestle with someone like Devin Larat for content? Devin Larat was at my gym last week, and I could have gone, but I didn't because I couldn't be bothered, is the best answer. I don't like events where it's 2 guys like kind of head to head. I did a long time in football, like especially when aggression is associated, and it doesn't bring out the best in me. My head goes to a sort of funny, wacky place, and I don't see the use for that long term. So, will I ever arm wrestle with someone like Devin Larat? If I didn't go when he was at my gym, then that's probably a pretty good indication. Bob asks if we'll ever see another collab with Wide Pavlo, a meme experience. That was hilarious. If you haven't seen me play basketball against Wide Pavlo, that is so funny. I hope we can have some more things like that, but that was super, super spontaneous. Yeah, but I hope so. Wide Pavlo. If not for his little incident with Alexi last year, I would undoubtedly say he is one of the most entertaining guys out there. Between like the not 100% English comprehension, and he's relatively funny himself, and then just like how he looks, he doesn't even look real. All that put together is pretty entertaining. Steve Supreme asks, what's your opinion on hyperbaric chambers for recovery? Unnecessary in strength sports. In short, I think they could be a big use, much bigger use in aerobic sports. That goes without saying to anyone with in-depth knowledge. So yeah, I don't think there's a huge utility in strength sports. James asks, if you had the chance, time machine, would you enjoy competing in the Shazi Bjornsson area? What would you do differently? I don't think I'd enjoy it as much because statically they were all just so good, and I would be much better than them moving and much worse than them statically. And it would sort of be a lot of foregone conclusions with a lot of events. That being said, I'd still do it. And I welcome anyone to come compete and anyone to come back. I'd love Thor to come back. I'd love Eddie to come back. But it would probably be less enjoyable, not because of the competition, but because there'd be such a discrepancy of strengths in different areas. Bronsup says, does that mean you guys know the heats events and the final events, or you just have the long list? Look at you, your knowledge. We have the long list, but when we get that long list, it's pretty, to me, it's obvious. Like we're shown 5 events, stone off, 5 events, stone run. You tell me. It seems obvious to me. We were told one of the events is for max. It'd be random to have something for max in the finals, I think. So, or sorry, in the heats. It's obviously in the finals. So, yeah. Bryce, hello. Hope you're doing well. Look forward to seeing you. Are you going to do some vehicle pulls before Worlds? Imagine showing up to Worlds without practicing the events. I am ordering a harness very soon. I'm working hard on my sled pushes. Yes, I'll do some vehicle pulling. I'll get as good as I can, but I might keep that one a bit more of a secret. Might keep it under wraps. Alex asks, are you going to attempt 505 at the next Deadlift Championships if you feel like it's within your grasp? I will not be attempting anything at the next World Championships because I will be getting married on that day. So I will not be in Cardiff, but I will be at the other giant shows that I'm invited to, which are the ones that I can, which is Royal Albert Hall and World Tour Finals. Hopefully we get something going in North America. I know there's rumblings about that, so we shall see. Hassan asks if I've considered getting Nathan Payton as a nutritionist. Brian, Tom, and Martine's work with him. Honestly, no. I've seen how Tom eats, and I don't like it. Like in person, I've seen him before comps, just like destroying huge amounts of just like burgers, and yeah, I don't know if that's him going off of Nathan's plan, but in general, the guys that Nathan coaches seem to be excessively large. Obviously, Tom's amazing. But like Martine's at Rogue was like he was stuffing his face with like Rice Krispie squares, like as he's going up to deadlift. You're like, really? Surely that's not helping you. So no. If I was to get a nutritionist, I would get someone more in the dietetics field than the nutritionist field. Someone who has a very balanced approach, and probably someone who has no affiliation with Strongman. I think in nutrition, there's more to lose than there is to gain when you start talking about like the minutia. And if I was pounding Rice Krispie bars, the likelihood that the increase in blood sugar is going to benefit me more than my stomach not feeling right is probably very low. So, yeah, probably not Nathan. Kervin says Pavlo half the time didn't know what you're talking about, but he was a good sport. He was a great sport. Yeah. James said, I'm really glad you're not brushing the Pavlo Alexi thing under the carpet. I don't want the guy blacklisted, but it was still so unacceptable. Yeah, I wasn't there, but yeah, I haven't forgot about it, and he seems to have an angry side to him that I've never had, but I've had other things that strong people in the strongman world don't know about that I don't particularly associate with anymore. And yeah, look, he's young. He was 22 or 23 when it happened. So it seems that he's grown. It seems that he's improved. And in the strength world, most people they're not the types who got along with everyone always. It's a bit of a recluse sport. It's a sport that a lot of people gravitate to because they're not accepted in a lot of communities. So there's people with a huge, vast variety of backgrounds, from really affluent upbringings to really tough upbringings to people who have murdered other people. Like, you guys probably don't know, there's a guy at Worlds who I believe has murdered someone. I have very, very strong recollection that I was told that by him and by other people. No sense in saying who it is, but that guy is well accepted. He's lovely to everyone around him, but he's literally murdered someone. So to turn around and go, Pavlo can't be accepted because he bashed Alexi, no, it's not on. It's not okay. No one's standing for it. But yeah. Ashley's giving me advice. Ashley says stop talking. I'm gonna stop talking about that. Brandon goes, is there a strong man that you look up to? Go and say, I look up to a lot of people for a lot of different things. Ashley says that just show Murphy again. If this is Ashley's live stream, I wouldn't even be on it. It would just be Murphy. Strongman I look up to. I look up to how Luke and Tom log press. I look up to how Bibby presses everything. I look up to Rauno's deadlift technique. I look up to a lot of people for a lot of different things. So yeah, heaps. There's very few high-level pro strongmen who I wouldn't look up to in some way. Hassan asked if I'd ever consider getting MST systems to coach you. Sure. If Laws got hit by a bus, he'd be on my list. But at the moment, things with Laws are going really well. But I've heard great things about MST. I've had conversations with him, and keep an eye out. MST and I are going to be doing something together very soon. John asked, thoughts on Jamal Browner coming to the World Deadlift Championships? I love it. I really love it. I would love him to get into a suit and pull like the rest of the guys. I think he said that he's going to pull not in a suit. Doesn't excite me. Like him pulling 1,000 out of a suit would be mental. But why wouldn't you just come in a suit and maybe 505, maybe 475? All of that. Like I'd much rather that than, oh, I'm the strongest out of a suit. So we'll see. But I love it. I love it for the attention for the sport. Love it. Just invite the best deadlifters in the world. And he's clearly one of them. Like Mr. Deadlift is another one, but he's strictly sumo, I think, at the type of numbers that he's pulling 500 plus. So yeah, I love it. JF Leduc asks how my ankle's going and if I've got it sorted out. We're getting there. I wouldn't say 100%, but very, very close. I'm much more confident now than I was with it, say, at Rogue. But it does still do a weird clicking thing. Doesn't really hurt my mobility. So, yeah, I think I'll be all right. Bronshot says, Peyton secret, smash as many Rice Krispie treats in between each show. Well, all insulin timing. Seems like that messed Martine's up big time at the Rogue. Yeah, I don't know what messed Martine's up at the Rogue. But he certainly wasn't himself. Happy New Year, Fenrir, Lindsay. Hectic wood logs in Australia, Fenrir logs. If you saw my early training videos, that's what I trained on for a large part of my early career. That's why I love wood logs so much. That was the most of my exposure early on. Thoughts on WSM events? Not really surprising. Would have loved more yoke. Would have liked dumbbell not to be there. But when you put out that many events, we've seen them all. When you put out that many events, you basically know you're going to get a bit of everything. I think Fingers is going to be fun. I think that's going to be an interesting one. So, yeah. Total Defense is not a fan of Nathan. Seems so secretive and really comes off as a scam most of the time. He does have top-tier athletes in his corner, but it's almost coincidental at times. Now, look, I think Nathan is I don't know anything about how he programs nutrition, and he's given nutrition to a lot of the best guys in the world. So what more can you say? They trust him. Say like someone like Brian. Brian is so meticulous, and he wouldn't hire someone who wasn't meticulous. I don't think Nathan would be the right person for me, but great evidence to say he's really good for other people. So I don't know. I am a fan of Nathan. He's a great guy, really nice guy. Will you transition into a fat, slow, but even stronger strongman in the future? Grow a big beard? No, I won't. Bryce, now that Ty Helm is doing the ASI Pro show, who's going to get the Austin record, the Kiwi or the Moose? All we can promise is that no one from Australia is getting the Australian stone record. Let's see. I don't know anything about Tyler Helm. Can you help me out, Bryce? Tell me something about him. What's his stone? Is that the guy who did the 240? The thing about the max stone in Australia at ASI is it's after a max front carry, after a Ukrainian deadlift for reps, after a max log. Like our backs are going to be fried. So I wouldn't expect huge stone numbers, but yeah, I did see his 240 stone. I'm looking at Ty Helm right now. Yeah, strong guy. Yeah, it'll be fun. We'll see. I'm a competition guy though. Like what Laws says, like it's all well and good what you've done in your home gym with the stones that you've been working with. Always, let's battle it out on competition day, and hopefully we can push each other to a pretty big number. Because I would love a 250, 260 stone to be loaded in Australia. I loaded a 232 in Australia, and it was maybe one of the worst stones I've ever touched in terms of like falling apart on my hands. I actually, when I did the max stone, it was a single event, but I actually lapped that 4 times. I lapped it 3 times, and then every time I would replace my hands, there'd be gravel all in the tacky, so I couldn't extend it. And the 4th time I got it because less gravel came off in the tacky. So the stones that they make and they'll have at the AS International will be phenomenal. And I will not be in top form. That being said, I'm loading a 180 stone with chalk right now. No issues. I feel really good with it. So we'll see. Like, for example, the 215, 210, I think was the last stone at Shaw. And that really felt like no problem after a super heavy event. After I was in, where was I? In Cardiff the week before traveling. I was in terrible shape at Shaw, really. Yeah, I think I'd be very surprised if I didn't beat the 500 mark that I've done before. Hopefully we're talking 250, 260, and we'll see where we go from there. But the likelihood that I do more than I have to is very low. So if I could win the comp with a 200 or 210, then that's all. MRS, is there any events you'd like to see in Worlds that isn't there already? Yeah, yoke. I don't think there's a yoke in there, and I'd like there to be multiple yokes in there. I don't see a reason we can't have 3 yokes in the finals at World Strongman, personally. Hassan, thoughts on Matt Rhodes' sport? I don't know. I'm out of it. Like Ashley says, I'll just show my. Bryce says 240 max stone. Oh, that's yeah, that's him. Yeah, no, hopefully it's a good show. It does look like Bronchop says the Aussie show looks great. Yeah, it should be fun. Mason from Standards to Minute there makes awesome stuff. And first year pro shows back in Australia. Show some support when the live stream comes out. Please go buy it. Please follow along. That's the best way. Everyone talks about growing the sport. The sport grows when people are interested, and that's just economics of it. So if you're interested, vote with your dollars, which I am going to sign off here shortly. If you can, becoming a member is a big help to me, big help to the channel to continue to grow. Get a membership. Sorry, I think I just had a stroke. It's a great way to support the channel. Subscribe if you can't. And if you can't do any of that, which I don't know why you can't subscribe, but if you don't want to, please like the video, leave some race droppings on my stuff. I'll answer a few more questions, and then I am up and out of here. Jane, thank you very much. I look forward to seeing you over in the UK. Favorite snack food is ice cream. I love ice cream. I could eat literally 10 liters of ice cream and still want more. Jacob, is the ASI stone with full tacky? Yes, full tacky. Hassan asked if I'm an Andrew Tate fan. No. I think he's very rude. Here's a good one. What do you think of Stu McGill's methods of working with lower back pain? I think it's okay for some populations. I think it's very regressive for athletic populations or particularly strong people. It's sort of like when people's hips are shifting in a yoke, and people are talking about doing clamshells to improve that. And if you're going to deadlift 700 pounds, say, working on like really, really basic bodyweight exercise, it's a huge hill to climb, and probably far too regressed for the average person. Branch up to Mike, Happy New Year's. James, Merry Christmas. Cheers. Thank you very much, guys. I have very little plans over the New Year's weekends. I'm going to be doing heaps of work, making sure all of those programs online are up and running well. Merry Christmas in post. I think it's always Merry Christmas while we're in December. But thank you very much for tuning in, guys. Happy New Year. Go check out the membership if you can. Subscribe if you can't. And I appreciate y'all. Take care, guys, and we'll speak soon.